thank you so much for coming in. I appreciate having you here in the studio.
Well, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here. It's wonderful.
No, you know, this has been a format for years for artists to come and just talk, because I've always felt, you know, that people don't get an opportunity to meet the artists as much as, you know, as we would like that. And I think that this is a great format for artists to come and sit about and talk about what, you know, what they're doing artfully and what inspires them, what gets them motivated, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the questions I like to ask the artists, my guests, is if you were designing a website, okay, and there was a pull-down menu, and you needed to put in there, you know, the kind of artist, you know, abstract, landscape, portrait, whatever, the kind of artist you were, what would you have to pick?
Well, I'd say that's a really good question, because I'd say initially sure, it's landscape, but really, you know, if you dig down to the details, it's more abstract landscapes.
Oh, okay.
So when I began my work, it was all about the horizon line, and I began doing encaustic, which is actually beeswax.
Yeah.
And that was really primarily focusing mainly on that horizon line.
Yeah.
And as I've gone through, as the process has sort of evolved, it's really about texture, and I've incorporated acrylics, not into the encaustics, because acrylics is a water-based medium, so you can't mix water and beeswax.
Okay, good to know. Is it something that has to be used with, who's taking pictures? Who's taking pictures over there? That has to be used with oil-based paints?
Yes.
Okay, now see, that I've learned something new today.
Yep. So it's really, it's a very interesting thing, and one of the things about both of them is that they're pretty fast drying. So you or I feel like I need to work really quickly doing what I do, which is nice.
Now, my kids are going to kill me if I don't ask this question, because you said horizon line, and now they're going to want me to ask you about the vanishing point. Is that something that you also incorporate into your work to get that perspective feel? Is it something?
I don't, and that's a really good question, because it's really not about the vanishing point. It's really about the line. So it's really about the big landscape, as opposed to getting into that one point.
That's great, because I know they're all at home, you know, because a bunch of the kids do watch, and they go, man, so he said that.
Yeah, no, but I think one of the things that's always interesting about landscapes is that what can you do, you know, with that point, you know, if it is a vanishing point, what can you do with that edge, so it's not just sky and land, but that something either blends into the sky, or you know, like when you see a tree and how the tree kind of grows out of that line, you know, those kinds of things. And I like to call those the happy accidents, you know, because if you're working in beeswax and you hit it with fire a little bit too much and the beeswax bleeds out, there's your tree, you know.
That's
or
great.
There's your grass.
Are your pieces adventures, or are you sitting there like Amanda was talking about earlier, about mulling it over? Okay, I'm going to make sure my blends go this way. I want this to look like this. I want this to look like that.
For me, art never happens like that.
Okay.
Like, I might have an idea. I might have a story in my head. But it feels like the paint has another story. And so we kind of come together.
You're working as a team?
Yes.
That's a great way of putting it that I've never, again, something new. You know how long I've been doing this, and you've told me two things I didn't. That's an excellent way to describe it, though. You're working, you're not working as an artist in a cocoon on your own. You're actually working in partnership with the materials you're using.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that's a great way to put it, because it's so true, especially where we're blending with, especially with the medium that you're working with. It moves.
It absolutely does.
You know, and it can give you all kinds of surprises. Are you surprised sometimes? Do you kind of?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you know, 90% of art it's about the happy surprises. You know, there's something that happens that you're like, oh God. You know, you can think of it as, oh man, it just ruined my piece. Or you can think of it as, wow, look at that. Like that is the central focus of what we need to create together. What, you know, the painting and I need to create together. You know, like a lot of things that I think about when I'm not doing my work is I think about artists in 3 stages. And the 3 stages of art to me feel like at first you're a technician. You're learning all about the how. And then you're an engineer and you're combining the what.
Whoa.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So you're combining the
You're
what
writing
and the
my
how.
first class.
Okay. You're combining the what and the how.
Yeah.
And then you're a master and you're just dealing with the how.
That's correct.
You're just dealing with, actually, that's wrong. You're sort of dealing with the what. You're thinking about, what is this piece going to be? Like, show me what this piece can be. Let's do it together.
Right. Do you set an atmosphere for yourself? I mean, is there some Slipknot playing in the background?
Well, yeah, I love to listen to music, and I often will save little clips from magazines or a photograph that I see.
Something you've seen,
Yep.
to inspire you?
Yep, and so I'll put those up in my studio.
So you have a dedicated space to work.
I do.
How important is that?
Yeah, really important.
Yeah, it's really nice to be able to have that atmosphere.
Absolutely.
Are you able to work on more than one piece at a time? It sounds like you kind of really involve yourself in your work, and it's kind of this partnership we talked about.
Right.
Is there any jealousy when you start to work on another piece? We've given the side of life here,
I
so.
know. Well, I can only work on one piece at a time.
That's interesting. Okay.
But I don't think a piece is ever truly done,
Ugh.
and so I will go back to a piece. Like if I like something that happened here, well, maybe that's the piece, that's the thing that needs to happen in this other piece. So I might bring it back and rework it or, do something.
How do you know when it's done?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I had this very same conversation with a friend of mine, and I don't know if art is ever really done, right?
Okay.
But I think there comes a point when you just have to let go. So you say it's done enough.
Is it as much as okay, I have to go on, or is the spark of a new piece helping you get away from that other one?
Well, maybe it is. I think that you just get that sort of aha moment, right? Yeah. You just say, well, it's done enough.
I tell my kids when I see a piece and when I'm working on a piece and I go, I like that. It's time to stop.
Right.
And then leave that. And then, yes, you can always revisit it later as it's been sitting on the wall and you go, I kind of wish I'd done that.
Right.
It's better that than saying I wish I hadn't done that.
Exactly.
So that's,
yeah.
Has it always been the kind of style you're doing now, or were you drawing stick figures as a child to get started?
I always dabbled. I guess I did. I started out doing stick figures and doing more representational things, and then I got away from doing any kind of fine art and just went into design work, into graphic design. And then from there, I just felt like I needed to express my own stuff. My own creativity as opposed to...
I'm smiling because I'm wondering if that graphic design business is an outlet for artists who are having...
Well, I bet it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where do I go from here?
Exactly.
Well, I got to do something.
Well, right. And I have to make a living, so...
We've got some pieces to look at, don't we?
Yes.
So why don't we bring them up and we can check it out and you can talk me through a couple of them, tell me what we're looking at.
All right.
Here we are. This is
so this is a detail. Oh, okay. This is a detail of a painting that we will see in a few minutes. But what I thought was important to show about this was just the detail of the work. Like, I'm working with a palette knife.
Oh, you are using a knife.
Yep.
Okay, that's
great. And it's wet on wet, and with acrylics, it has to happen pretty quickly. So what's important to really look at here is it's the texture of the work.
Right.
And what can happen when those things are mixing onto the canvas.
Right. When to pull the knife.
Exactly. And so this is the piece itself. So
I see what you're talking about, your horizon. That is great.
And this piece was inspired by an early spring drive. I was going, and it was a little piece in the landscape that I could see where on, like what we're seeing now on our left, I don't know what it is for the viewers, but on our
You're
left
seeing the same thing we're looking at. Yeah.
is how spring was coming in. The buds were beginning to, to
so
blossom.
It's a journey
things.
across.
Exactly.
Excellent.
And then on the right-hand side it was still sort of dead and cold, and you know how spring can be.
Yes, I do.
And this is called True North. So this reminds me of, well, I grew up in Alaska, so this reminds me of sort of that kind of cold.
I was going to ask you where you got your inspiration, but there it is. Okay.
There it is. Big, long landscapes with lots of mountains and rough terrain.
That's beautiful. I
Thank
love
you.
that. How big is that?
That is 30 by 30.
Oh, my.
And this is inspired by rocks on a beach. You know how Maine, you said you were going to Maine
Yes.
here pretty soon? And it's that kind of rocky shore, and that is what inspired me to do this piece. This is at River's Edge. So this is also an acrylic, and it really is just about, focusing on that one piece right by the water's edge, and how you get the reflections, you get the sky, you get the water, it all kind of mixes together.
Yep.
And it's more about fall, when the leaves have fallen, there's color on the ground.
I can hear it. You
Cool.
know? Yeah.
That's great. Reflections on a shoreline. So this I just was inspired to, think a little bit about in different ways that we can make the water, right? The water doesn't always have to be blue. In this case, it's kind of a greeny blue, and that kind of rough terrain at the edge of at the water. Clearing in the field. So
is this all out of your head, or are you sitting in a field right now with a palette knife?
No, it's all out of my. So it's from memory, as well as I might have taken a photograph of something.
Yeah, so you might have something up on the on the easel.
Exactly.
With some kind of instrument.
Exactly.
Very cool.
So this is, when it's misty out, it's morning, the land is warmer than the sky.
Are you brushing in your skies, or are you not? Are you paletting? Are you not
Nope,
doing that
those
too?
are paletted in.
Beautiful.
Thanks. And
Very
then
cool.
a lot of this was done with, I took a razor blade afterward and scraped off the paint just to see, that's often what you do in encaustics, and I thought, well, let's try it in acrylics, let's see what happens.
Is it on canvas?
It is.
It is on canvas. Is there a website people can go to kind of
Yes.
really kind of dig them?
Yep, they can go to LaGueWax.com.
LaGue, that
So
being your last name.
Yes. So that's LAGUE wax.com.
Ruth, I want to thank you so much for coming in.
Well, thank you.
Do you have a show coming up or anything we need to know about?
I just finished a show, so I don't have a show coming up.
You should fix that.
Yeah, knock on wood.
Don't be a stranger, please.
Okay.
Feel free to call us and we'll come back anytime.
Well, thank you. It's been my
such a pleasure
pleasure.
to have you.
Thank
you so much.
Thanks.